See how quiet it can get? And I can't tell if there's so many people here tonight because we're going to honor Victor, because we have Dave and Cindy, because we have Congresswoman Joe Lofgren, I know it's not because of me, but I have to tell you that I'm just excited that you're all here. It's been a long time since this room has been this full. On the last Friday of the month, we're getting there. And I can't think of any place I'd rather be, and persons I'd rather spend it with than those that are sitting up here at this front table. I don't normally watch the news. It usually makes me sad. But I've gotten used to watching the Board of Supervisors meeting on Zoom. And I just love watching Cindy do what she does. I've gotten used to watching Dave. And believe me, when he gets from the 500 words down to the 450, it is something. But I used to describe our congressperson as somebody that you'd want to watch because she was analytical. And I watched her the last 3 years, and I describe her as one hell of a fighter. And there's never a time during the last 3 or 4 years that when I know she's going to be a guest on one of those TV programs, even those that I hate to watch, on those stations I never tune into, that I don't go and put it on just to watch her kick their ass all over the place. And so it takes me back to when I first met Victor. And he would tell me what it's like here in the Bay Area. And coming from Orange County, I didn't believe it, number one. It took him years to convince me. And as I looked around, I would think, here's a man that has spent his whole life ensuring that not only the Latino community, but the marginalized community members in this community had a voice, had a representative, and didn't care if he hurt persons' feelings, didn't care the cost to him, but he was going to stand there and make sure that their voices were heard. And I watched him do that over and over again, to the point that I felt honored just to be standing next to him. So tonight, we're going to listen to some incredible persons that have given most of their time, their adult life, to helping individuals because they could not help themselves. And if you watched what the Supreme Court did, there's reasons we need people like that. And then this room, we're going to dedicate to somebody that has done it from day one and continues to do it to this day. And when I say that, he doesn't do it just here in this valley. He does it throughout the United States. He does it in Texas, which I don't know why people keep going there. I would understand why they would leave there, but I am. I do think that if you don't have somebody that is willing to stand up and say the right things for the right reasons in Florida, see? Then it's all for nothing. It's easy to say it when your city or county or state is blue. Not so easy when it's red. Victor doesn't care the color. So it's always a hoot hanging out with him. So tonight, we're first going to let our two guests speak. And I'm not so blind that I'm not going to take the opportunity to have some of the other persons up here say a few words. It's not often you get persons like that, like this here in this room. I think we have the opportunity to listen to some real champions. They may also be up, I think some of them might still be up for re-election soon. You don't want to forget their names. You don't want to forget what office they're running for. I'm not saying anything more than that because I'm not supposed to, but I want to make sure they say their names and their office at least twice so you remember when you leave this room, because we need them and more like them in City Hall, in Sacramento, and in DC. But we're going to start, if we could, with Cindy. The reason I say that is because Victor likes to say that I would be long gone if it weren't for him. And that's partially true. He got me to stay. Cindy talked me into doing the stuff that I'm doing. I'm not sure she even really knows that. But at the end of the day, staying and watching isn't that difficult. Staying and doing, that means something. And if you're around her long enough, you cannot just stay and do nothing. And if you compare Santa Clara County, the services offered by our county government, to any other county in this state, that's why I'm still here. I don't want to live in Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego. It's here. Now, I have family in LA and Orange County, and I don't mind visiting them. So before we start, though, we're going to have Rose, a blessing, correct? Is Julie here? Oh, right here. The chief had an important birthday he had to go to.
Make makmoek mawulam, akoit makwarep mana makisui, Jorge Tuhi, Kanakraka, Julie Dominguez, Kanahini, Dolores Sanchez, Muek Maloney, Bay Area Tak. We are Muek Maloney, welcome to the lands where we are born. Hi everyone, my name is Julie Dominguez, and I come from the Dolores Sanchez lineage of the Muek Maloney tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. Here today on behalf of our chairwoman, Charlene Nijme, we would like to offer first some words and then also offer a gift in honor of Victor. I know that usually these things are started with a prayer. I was unprepared for that, but one thing that I will say is this has been a beautiful experience over the last few months that I've been able to participate here at La Raza Roundtable. My mother, who was heavily active in food justice, had often spoke of the Raza Roundtable and other organizations alike. And with that being said, hearing all of the stories about you, Victor, it's really empowering to have such a pillar in our community for so many years and pave the way for our next generations to come and have a voice, which is really important, especially, for our tribe, as we fight for federal recognition and full sovereignty in this state. And not just for us, but all underrepresented communities. And on behalf of our Muwekma people, we thank you, and we would like to offer you 2 gifts. Number 1 is we have a gift that was handmade by my brother, Joseph, who is on his way as a sun dancer to South Dakota. So we have here is a red abalone necklace that we would like to give to you. Additionally, as customary, as a general Native American offering, we bring you a Pendleton blanket that we would like to bless and drape around you in honor of our tribe as well. Menahishmet.
Let's thank Julie and her family again. That was just beautiful and beautifully done. Just lovely. Well, tonight I am excited to be here because we really are talking about legacies. And it's incredible, frankly, to stand here and see this group of luminaries. And I want to just say a little bit about what's happening with the county, but I want to talk about it in the context of what it means to have a legacy. So, and Victor, I'm going to come to you last because I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our colleagues. So this year, the County of Santa Clara just closed our budget. It's an $11.5 billion budget, and almost $3.5 billion of that budget is focused on 3 county hospitals, 14 clinics, and then 14 partner clinics in our community. The reason I'm lifting that up is that we have one of the best and largest public hospitals, and we were able to expand health insurance, not just for children, which is where we started many years ago, but now for adults as well. We have very few people in our community who don't have access to health insurance. We're almost at universal health insurance in Santa Clara County. That's incredible, right? And I say that because the basis of that leadership came from Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren. And so to have her here today, while I get to say, we're continuing the legacy, and well done, and you'd be proud that we're being really careful with every dollar. I want to talk about also that we're expanding mental health services more rigorously than almost any other place in the country, and we're also doing the same with drug and alcohol services. And actually with some of the nonprofits in this room, and I want to say thank you to them. But that legacy really rests on another person, and that is now former senator, now member of the Santa Clara Valley Water Board, Jim Bell. And so, since I'm thinking about legacies today, let's thank Jim Bell. We also, as you know, in our county have a $950 million housing bond, and we are almost completed spending $950 million on housing. We saw the first drop in homelessness in San Jose, in part because our permanent supportive housing started to open up. We were able to put thousands of people into those homes, and we expanded interim housing. That legacy belongs to now Senator Dave Cortese. I want to say thank you to Dave. And I want to just talk about Reed Hillview Airport for a moment. Many of you know that both Congresswoman Lofgren and then Supervisor Blanca Alvarado worked very, very hard to lay the foundations for us to be able to change fundamentally Reed-Hillview Airport. And there were two significant changes that happened recently. One, the counties agreed to take no more airport improvement grants, which means that the airport will close in 2032. That's very important. I mean, yeah, thank you, Danny. I'm hanging out with you. The second thing, though, that is really critical is that we know that the number one way that the number one source of lead in air poisoning of people in our community comes from piston engine aircrafts. The County of Santa Clara no longer sells leaded fuel at either of our airports, not at Reed-Hillview and not at San Martin. I want to say a very special thank you both, and I know Blanca's not here, but I'm thinking about our legacies today, and also to Congresswoman Lofgren to say thank you, because without them, we would not be where we are today, and the FAA has tried to force us to sell leaded fuel, and one of the reasons that hasn't happened is people are more afraid of Congresswoman Lofgren than the average bear. So let's thank her for that. And I want to wrap up with this point about legacies. We don't win any single one of these battles without having power, voice, strength, tenacity, a plan, a strategy, and people. Not one. Not one. And since 1988, Victor Garza has been gathering La Raza Roundtable to get people to get to know each other, to talk about issues, to get focused on issues. People come here to get, when they want to run for office, they want the imprimatur of this organization because they know how important this voice is. Every single one of the issues I just talked about with you, we wouldn't be anywhere with them without La Raza Roundtable. And that wouldn't be here without Victor Garza. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, I want to present a commendation. It's not nearly as cool as the two gifts you already got. But on behalf of my colleagues, we're honoring Victor Garza for his incredible legacy. And I'm just going to acknowledge that I don't usually say this. I was born in New Mexico, so I'm a little prejudiced against Tejanos. But Victor was born in Texas, and I love him anyway. And he moved here in 1960. He served in the Navy and received both a bachelor's and a master's degree from San Jose State. Go Spartans. All right, let's hear it. He founded La Raza Roundtable, Santa Clara County's largest coalition of Latino and Mexican-American civil rights and community organizations, and has served as chair since its founding. Victor has been a civil rights and Latino leader since the 70s, and he served as chair of the Human Relations Commission and participated in Bill Clinton's initiative on race and poverty in the White House in 1998. In addition to his work on behalf of the Latino community, Victor has devoted his career to serving veterans and students throughout Santa Clara County, including serving as the director of Veterans Affairs for Santa Clara County and chair of the Enlace Mentorship Program at Evergreen College. And whereas on June 30th, 2023, the Assembly Room at Conexión, our community headquarters, is renaming the Gathering Hall as Victor Garza Gathering Hall. Therefore, let it be resolved on behalf of the Board of Supervisors that we're very, very, very proud of you. And I, for one, am incredibly grateful. Thank you.
Free advertising. We're now lucky to have, I think, the best state senator, not only in this state, but in all the states, Dave Cortese.
Thank you, Bob. Well, thank you all very much. He said, now you have to live up to that. That's about right. That's about it. Maybe in terms of present, I try as hard as anybody else, but I stand on the shoulders of some very, very outstanding state senators who've spent a lot of time in this room, and we all know who they were. Not with us anymore in several cases. But that's the legacy of Sacramento. If you get to spend some time up there, I think there's, in the history of the state of California, there's only been 1,100 and change, 1,100 state senators ever. So every time I walk into those chambers, I remember all of you, and it means a lot to me, and it's a tremendous honor to be there representing the residents, all of the residents here in Senate District 15, which has 1 million people. It goes from the Stanislaus border on the other side of Mount Hamilton all the way to the top of the ridge at the summit of the Santa Cruz Mountains, and takes in about 6 cities, mostly San Jose. And I hope, Victor, that I can present a state Senate resolution to you on the floor of the Senate, that we can get you up there to do that, because I know all of my colleagues would appreciate that and stand and rise to honor you. So that's what the plan is. Look, I'll say a couple words about Victor right from the start here, and I'm going to weave in something that we did recently again, which is the bus trip to La Paz. But it's hard to know where to start with Victor if you've been around him for a long time, because he's had such an impact. I don't use the word transformational lightly, but if there's an individual in this room who's had a transformational impact on this county, especially when it comes to issues of racism, issues of oppression, it's Victor Garza. He's the first person I ever heard as an elected official use the word racism as a way to make his point and move people like me, and have you realize 2 seconds after he said the word that he's right. He's right. The system's racist. 2/3 of our kids in juvenile hall are Latino. Disproportionate numbers of our kids in the child welfare system. He invited me to his press conference in our county building, walked in, held his own news conference with several other people, and called out the entire system as a racist system. You have to stop and listen to that. You have to choose. You have to say either he's right and we all need to rally and transform the system, or you have to walk away and do nothing. And in this case, I was always a follower, but I learned, little by little how to lead on these topics. And again, I keep trying. I'm trying. We're doing everything we can. I went to Arizona with Victor one time, met him there, flew in, and he said, I want to introduce you to something there that I'm involved with. Very low key. And at that time, we had about 300 plus kids in our juvenile hall here. He said, I want to show you, when I got there, so I want to show you, we met in the evening. Tomorrow I'm going to show you everything about a system here that's doing things right. In that area, Phoenix, right, we were, I think, had 4 million people in the metropolitan area, 1.8 million in the city itself, and we were a smaller community. And the first thing I found out is they only had less than 24 kids in their juvenile hall in the system. They had kids who were placed, who were being helped, who had mentors, who had people calling them during the day, multiple times during the day, to make sure, they were on the right track. And the individual that Victor wanted me to meet, that was running the organization, large, community-based organization with locations in cities around the country, he sat down with me, and the first thing he says, how do you know Victor Garza? I said, well, I know him from this little La Raza group, and from coming down to use your words, Bob, kicking our ass at the county. And he said, well, here, he's our guy, he's our main guy. He chairs our board of this national organization. Very humble man. And I don't think you can do that kind of work, transformational work, and I don't think all these people would be here were it not for that piece of it, your humility, Victor. So thank you, and thank you for being a friend, a personal friend, and holding me accountable all these years. I sat down, your name, I want you to know your name comes up in Sacramento, and I bet you Zoe will just tell us it comes up in Washington, D.C. from time to time in her conversations. But I was sitting down with the senator from Bakersfield, Senator Melissa Hurtado, just 3 or 4 days ago, and she was talking about the impact and the controversy about the border. And I said, everything I know about that, I learned from a guy named Victor Garza. And we began to have an engaged conversation. That's the kind of impact you have on me, which hopefully I'm bringing forward in my work in Sacramento, and I'm trying to influence other people, to look at things the way that we've looked at them here and the way you've taught me to look at them, Victor. So thank you very much for that. One day, among the many, many things we decided to launch or deal with from here, right here in this room, was a fun thing, kind of a fun thing. And I don't remember if Artie was here from the United Farm Workers that particular, he might have been the speaker. Victor asked somebody to speak at La Raza Roundtable. It doesn't matter. Julie Rodriguez, assistant to the President of the United States, she would be here. Artie, the President of the United Farm Workers, Artie Rodriguez, he'd be here, right? I mean, so many people in this room have seen that. Well, one day we're here, and it's one of you. We're all equals in this room, right? One of you, I forget who it was, whoever remembers can stand up again, stood up and said, why is it that none of you leaders up there ever put together a pilgrimage to La Paz, where Cesar Chavez is buried? Why doesn't somebody do that? And I'm sitting up here because Victor would always have me and others sit up in front like this, and I said, okay, I'll do it, not knowing what I was getting into. 5.5-hour bus trip for one thing, each way, right? So we went down there again this year. We couldn't do it during COVID. With the support and co-sponsorship, full co-sponsorship of La Raza Roundtable, the assistance of financial backers like Bob Nunez and other folks. Some of our council members said, hey, I want to help out. I want to help out with the grant. I think Supervisor Otto Lee, the Board of Supervisors were engaged in it as usual. A profound experience. I don't know when we'll go again. It's not a trip that we've done every year. This year was the 30th anniversary of Cesar's death. But you have to remind people that he launched his work here, not Delano. Of course, he spent a lot of time at Delano, not La Paz, but right here. It was here in the apricot orchards and the prune orchards, and it was here that he talked even to his own siblings about the fact that something needed to be done. We know that. I'm preaching to the choir here. We know that. But I stood up when we commemorated Cesar Chavez on the Senate and made my little 5-minute speech, and you wouldn't believe the number of colleagues that came up to me and said, I had no idea about Cesar in San Jose. I had no idea about that. And when we do that pilgrimage, as we call it, it's a bus trip, but that's what we call it. The minute I said we were going to do the first one, of course, Victor said, yes, we're doing it, we're all in. But when we do that, we're regenerating the message, because every time we go, we end up bringing high school students, college students, young people who haven't had that experience and perhaps haven't really processed, the message of nonviolent resistance and what it means to organize and what it means to do the kind of work Victor's been doing, to take people out of oppression and give them a leg up. We got a lot of work to do going forward. I would like to tell you that we're coming out of the woods and everyone's going to see prosperity and the whole world is going to be on a level playing field tomorrow. It's not going in that direction, and I think you all know that. So we got a lot of fighting to do. But part of the reason I'm up for the fight is all of you and our fearless leader here, Victor Garza. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
So, Congressperson, could I ask you for just a few minutes of your time?
Well, I am so thrilled to be here this evening. Now, I first met Victor in 1973. He and Pete Carrillo, who's also here, and Al Morales came in. They were the Chicano Employment Committee, remember that? And they came in to, I was working for Congressman Don Edwards, to lay out how the city of San Jose was engaging in discrimination in hiring, and especially in the police department. And listening to them on the staff, they made a case that was correct. And we caused what my late colleague John Lewis said, good trouble. With the Department of Justice, they came in, they made all sorts of requirements, threatened funding and the like. And I remember the city came over to us afterwards and says, can you get them off our backs? I said, no, we put them on your backs. Victor was never afraid, and still is not afraid, to challenge the status quo if it's for a just cause. So, you know, I was thinking back, my husband John is here, and the campaign that we ran in 1980, when Victor was running for city council, we worked so hard, and he fell, I think it's less than 100 votes. That he lost that election. I was so devastated because Victor is such a leader. And yet, having that disappointment, not just for him, but for all of us who thought he would be on the city council and engage in tremendous change, he just picked up and went on to make tremendous change in other ways. I remember the work he did with the GI Forum and all of the young students that they helped over the years. And then, of course, it was wonderful that we were able to see Victor take over the Veterans Office in the county of Santa Clara, and the thousands of veterans and their families who he helped. The service that he did through those years cannot be replicated. Now, of course, you all know about La Raza and on, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the olden days. Of course, we were just teenagers at the time when we started, because Victor's life is service. I want to thank his family, the family members who are here, because they gave up their personal time sometimes with Victor so he could stand up for the whole community. You know, we're talking about legacies. Cindy mentioned the leaded gas at Reed Hillview Airport. Actually, I just want to mention, I brought that to the attention of President Joe Biden, and it was Biden who made the Transportation Department stop. So due credit to him. But the legacy that Victor leaves is not just the things that we know about, but it's the individuals whose lives he's changed, the people who have been saved, really, from disaster because of what he did, the selfless service. I'm so proud of him and proud to call him my friend. Thank you.
Tim, do you have that mic that you could bring up front? Sure.
Victor, thank you for your leadership. And here's the city of Milpitas. Thank you. So much. Un abrazo.
If you wanted to say something, you can do it from right there. See, how do you like that?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. I have to leave too. No, Victor, stay sitting. So I just want to just tell you how much I love you and appreciate you and honor you. Oh, he doesn't care. So I've been involved in youth mentoring for a long, long time, and this was probably 2014. It was 2014. And the board of the program that I had been part of just imploded, and the organization fell apart, and there was this dozen really deeply committed volunteers. We were working so hard. We came over here, we talked to Victor, we said we don't know what to do, and without even batting an eye, he said, you do your program over here. And we became part of Conexión. And that was an amazing, it was just amazing journey to work with you and your organization, and the difference that made in so many kids' lives, it still gives me goosebumps. And I'm just so grateful to you, Victor, for the heart and the compassion that you bring to our community, but especially our young people. Thank you so much for that.
I'm going to pass it to Dick. Dick wanted to say a few words.
Good evening. I kept on thinking about, I'm Dick Santos, Water District Director. Usually I come and tell you, use water wisely, and please do. But Congresswoman Lofgren kind of dated me, because that's when I first met Victor back in 1976. And he was in a little office off of First Street upstairs. Remember that, Victor? And Joaquin Brito. And I can go on and on about some of the early warriors. But anyway, what I want to discuss tonight is about when I heard about that Supreme Court decision. It really bothered the hell out of me. And it brought back a lot of memories, and not to go backwards. So I started thinking about the civil rights time. So when I came up in the service, went to school for a few years and applied in the San Jose Fire Department and got a job. And I never forget, when I came on, there was no blacks, no Asians, no women, and 10 Hispanics. And the union president came up to me and said, we got you, but we don't want you. So that was my introduction. And I started being active, and I got passed over for a position, and I met Victor around 1976. And they all said, this guy's Portuguese. And Victor said, he has a Mexican heart. So give him a hand. So that's how we started. And the reason I'm saying these things, because today, without Victor Garza, there would be no Hispanic fire chief, no Hispanic police chief. I know that for a fact. And 3-4 years ago, we worked together on making sure there's district elections in Santa Clara. And again, Victor's leadership. So I just try to make a few notes, and I saw Herman again here today, back to the old apostles, and Rose, and Raul Kalinga, and so many guys that it brought a lot of memories back. But I do want to take the time that when we came in the fire service, we came home, many of us in body bags, and you name it, couldn't get a job. He got the consent decrees to change the height, the gender. I can go on and on. A lot of things. We're the beneficiaries of all that. So I can go on all day, but for the rest of my life, thank you for making the changes in not just the departments in Santa Clara County. Thank you, Victor. We appreciate it.
And I'm Tony Estramera. I fortunately or unfortunately go back a little bit further than all these folks. I was a teenager when I met both Victor and his brother Humberto. His brother Humberto was the vice president at the time, 1966, by the way, of a community, a full community leadership organization from the old days called United People Arriba. And that was an organization also started Community Alert Patrol. And Victor, at the time, both Victor and Humberto had just come from Texas, and they were students at San Jose State. But they were active in the community from that day, and I remember him from then, 1966. Of course, I was a kid. I was a teenager then. I was in high school, and was really involved because of people like Victor. He made sure even then, in 1966, to make sure that young people, like me, high school students, were involved in looking for solutions to the problems that we had. That's how I became involved. And like I said, it was a long time ago. not long ago, I was sitting there at a conference, and one of my favorite people turned to me and said, "Hey, Dolores Huerta," turned to me and said, "Tony, when did I meet you? You were a high school student then." I said, "Yeah, I was 16 years old." And then we started naming people, who were here with Sophie Mendoza and people like that, and Victor Garza. And so Victor's been doing this for 60 years or more in our community. And, I remember the fights that we had to keep the hospital open in 1967 when we sat there at the old county building. We sat out, and for a long time, for many weeks, we had to demonstrate. We slept there and got kicked out by the sheriff many times, but we did that for a long time. And the hospital stayed open, and then we got clinics. And of course, that was with great help in 1967. In the 1968 election from Dave Cortese's father, who fought to keep that hospital open for many years. And then Zoe stepped up after that. We started Obamacare here in our community because of people like this. That's where Victor comes from. He was a leader. He started all of that, and that's why a lot of us have been able to come back as professionals to the community and make real changes. Victor, thank you, brother.
Well, thank you. I'm a newbie. I don't know Victor a whole lot, but I'll tell you this. I benefit from Victor, and same as Dick here, become a fireman. The height changes. I benefit from his humanitarian, from human right to equal rights. And thank you for the dedication, the determination, and the persistence that make the pillar of this community. And from the bottom of my heart, Victor, and I know this because when I met you, it's not about just the Hispanic community, it's about all community. And when you can sense that in your heart, in your soul, and in your mind, you know that you want to do the same thing. He inspired me to do better as a city council. Again, thank you very much, Victor.
Victor Garza. Back in the day in the 70s, I was one of those who responded to the initiative you and other community leaders to get the Community Alert Patrol going because we were experiencing outright brutality in our East Side neighborhoods. I witnessed several incidents personally. My family experienced several incidents. Things were out of control, and this was before Joe McNamara, police at McNamara came in and brought about some fundamental changes. But you were at the center of all of that. And I'll tell you, later, a few years later, early 70s is what I'm talking about by now, but by late 70s, I was appointed the ombudsman for the city of San Jose, appointed by then city manager Ted Tedesco, to head up the office to investigate citizen complaints against the police. Seeds that you planted kept giving fruit and kept, in the years that continued, made a huge difference in this community. So I honor you. I made a special effort to be here. I'm the primary caregiver for my 96-year-old mother, and it's hard for me to get out of the house, but I made it happen. I wanted to be here. The Victor Garza Community Hall is going to stand here as a reminder in our community for someone who lived and gave and served in some memorable ways, Victor. So, te amo, te quiero, te respeto. God bless you, my friend. Que viva Victor Garza!
Que viva!
Que viva Victor Garza!
Que viva!
Ahua!
Ahua! So we're gonna.
I'm a point of personal privilege. I want to introduce my brother, Dr. Joel Ruiz Herrera, retired superintendent for the Orchard School District, and his faithful spouse and partner, who is a retired master teacher for our kids in the East Side. Yes, Rita Duarte Herrera. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to change it just a little bit now, looking at the time. I'm looking for Chris. Do you see Chris, Cheryl? Okay. Because we still have the unveiling to do, but before we do that, because Victor has to know that he is still, to this day, changing people that he hasn't actually interacted with. It's through other people. So, was it 23 years ago that I first came here? And if you've heard about persons from Orange County, that was me. That was exactly me. Arrogant, sort of stuck up, Republican, yeah. You see how people forget all those things. And it took Cindy and Victor quite a time, I think, to try to get me to change. And if you really want to know how I changed, ask Steve. Our visits to universities, talking to graduate students, political students about politics and who they actually would have voted for, who was the chair of the Republican Party and who was the chair of the Democratic Party. It would interest you to know. They didn't always get it right. But through all of that, I was lucky enough, after leaving Eastside, which I believe is the best district in California, has the best board, has the best students, has the best parents, because they care and they know they matter. Got elected to the Milpitas Unified School District. Was lucky, and one of the last things I did there was help select a new superintendent. And I think a year and a half ago, Chris Norwood was selected the school board member of the year for the state. Well-deserved, well-deserved. He has made some real headway in helping school board members see their role, the responsibility, and the kinds of things they can do. And this last year, just the newly selected superintendent of the year for the state of California is Cheryl right there. And if Cheryl could come up. Boy, she walked slow, didn't she? So it was on my last school board meeting where we made the decision and I was able to vote for her. And I remember saying, persons asked, Bob, why did you vote for her? Do you think she's ready? And I remember Victor over and over again would say, don't vote for somebody that's ready now. It's for those persons you see that are going to be ready, you know, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, when you know what issues are going to come up. That's not mine. They didn't need Cheryl, the superintendent she was going to be, in 6 months or a year. They were going to need her, the one she was going to be, in about 3 to 4 years, when they had issues about race in that district. And she was ready. She made herself ready. And I can tell you that that whole community was proud of what she did to show the students, the parents in that community what it meant to deal with those issues head on, not to hide from them, and to make that community better because of that. And I believe that's why she was selected Superintendent of the Year for the state of California, and I'm proud to introduce her to you as that. And her husband and son are right back there. I think they're chauffeurs, but I'm not quite sure. And I just want to thank you for letting her spend all of her time doing what she does, because she does it exceptionally well. So if you want to say a few words, because who taught me that after those two sort of wrestled me there was Victor, who told me it takes time, and allow the time to take place. Don't rush people, but recognize what's in persons and help them get there.
When I first found out about the honor, I was truly speechless for the first time, and now almost for the second time. Bob, President Nunez, is a person I greatly admire and respect, and you many times talk to me about what's possible, and I would say maybe 2-3 years, maybe even earlier than that, he used to say to me, "You're going to be the best superintendent in the county, if not the state." And one time I said to him, "Why do you keep saying that?" And he said, "Because it's true." And I said, "Okay." And then he pulled me aside and he said, "I don't say things that aren't true." Thank you, Bob. I do have to say, however, that honors such as this are never about the single person. They're about the community and network that support that person's development. And I thank you, Mr. Garza, for your legacy of supporting so many people. And I didn't know until today how that directly impacted me. Thank you. And along this journey that I've made, I see another person in the audience, Dr. Joel Herrera, who when I was an assistant principal, a new one, and joined the Association of the California School Administrators, Dr. Herrera was there all the time asking me, what do I need, showing me how this organization worked, and talking to me about what matters. And ever since then, you're always there. Thank you. And I also notice as I look around the room that there are many of you that I've met for the first time, either right before COVID or during COVID, or maybe perhaps before that. And as I have this opportunity to lead with all of you, I am so grateful for the opportunity that I have to work with you to make things happen for people in a way that uplifts them and helps each of them to find ways that they too can contribute to their community. And I thank you, Steve, and also Supervisor Cortese, Senator Cortese, and Assembly Person Chavez, and also Director Santos, and down there at the end, our other Dr. Herrera on the school board in Eastside. I thank you all for always having the opportunity to intersect with you in different ways that make a great impact. And I have to say, I wish he was here. President of our Milpitas School Board, Chris Norwood, is truly a visionary and a person who has supported a lot of the great work that's been done in Milpitas, along with all of our school board members and our team members, and especially the outstanding things that are classified in teachers and students do on behalf of each other. And I'm so grateful, too, for this opportunity, because I think this will be the only time I can publicly thank, goodness, my husband and my son for being there. And I thank you for supporting all of those crazy times and the hours and always being there at home, waiting for me when I got home, whatever time it was. So thank you. This is also about you. So again, thank you for this opportunity to express my joy and also my gratitude for being a part of such a wonderful community. And while there are many of you that I haven't met, I do know that just the fact that we are here, we all care about people, about children, about youth, about the elders, and also about people who need second chances. So thank you. Thank you.
See, I can be nice. Allies. That's what Victor taught me. You know, we talk about it. We don't identify it much. But if we're going to be successful in these battles, I got that word from the congressperson. She uses that word when she's on those other TV stations, I've noticed. So I've adopted it. We have to recognize that when we're speaking for ourselves, that's one thing, but when we are allies, how do we support others? And I'm beginning to try to recognize that. And even though I'm sort of a shy, withdrawn kind of person, I need to do that more often. So with that, I'd like to do a couple of things. Those that would like to come up and make more statements about Victor, we're going to work out a way to do that. Tim's going to do that, so they can do that right here, while others are going to get things to eat, because I know some of you really do have to leave. We have food from Mexico Lindo that's right there. We also have, if it's not all gone, tea that I got at Dave's yesterday that I liked so much we brought it here. And I hope there's at least one glass left. And Victor, we do want to unveil the sign, the mural that's going to go up. Okay, but I also want to, when you talked about coming from New Mexico, Cindy, we have a whole table from Texas over here. So Dave, when you talked about visiting those people in Arizona, they followed you here. So I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce them. So Victor, do you want to introduce Dr. Mariel? Or?
Dr. Villarreal, will you introduce your guest?
We also have our National Special Coordinator, Mr. Juan Gándara. Our Vice President of Community Engagement is Melissa Villarreal. And his lovely mother came with her today. First time that she gets into a fly, so thank you very much for being here. And we have also our Chief of Technological, Chirac. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. And we have our Vice President of Community Engagement, Mr. Martin.
Thank you. So why don't we go ahead and unveil? No. I want to say something. Oh, I'm sorry.
I gotta fight for the microphone around here. I just want to mention a couple things about Victor, because everyone has said everything about Victor. And Zoe mentioned the Chicano Employment Committee. I have to tell you a really funny story. When they had the redevelopment agency redeveloping downtown, we had an office for the Chicano Employment Committee downtown, and our rent was $1 a year. And we got behind in our rent. That was Victor's fault. But I did want to acknowledge the founders of La Raza Roundtable. Besides Victor, there's Raul Colunga, who is here. Herman Vasquez, who is here. I was one of the founders, and then Pancho Garcia was also, he's already passed on, but he was one of the founders of La Raza Roundtable. So wanted to acknowledge all of them. And at this point, we want to, this room has always been a gathering place we've had weddings here, we've had funerals here, we've had a lot of ceremonies here, we've had just about everything you can imagine here, involved in the community. And so that's one of the reasons we wanted to acknowledge Victor, especially with La Raza Roundtable. It's kind of followed us, we started over on Las Plumas, before we moved over to this site. So it's been many, many years that La Raza Roundtable has been in our facility. And Victor has been on the board of Conexión for 40 years. So it's a long time. We also have the chair of our board who is here, Alex Flores, and he's been on the board about 30 years. So he's in the back here, Alex. And what I'd like to point out is the artist that did the rendering that you're going to see in a few minutes. Her name is Quetzali Jimenez. She's also the coordinator of our Family Resource Center. And if you went into the hallway, you'll see a mural on the wall. She also did that mural as well. So at this point, I think we need somebody to help us take the curtain off the picture and maybe take Victor back there so he can see it. You want to go to the back, Victor? Where's Victor Jr.? Can you help take your dad back, please? We should have introduced Victor's son. And this is Victor Jr. Oh, and Cindy's here. These are his children. Yes. Cindy, his oldest daughter, and his son, Victor. Dr. Victor Garza Jr.
Hello. Excuse me, everyone. Excuse me, if I can get everyone's attention, please, for just a moment. I know we're all here together to celebrate and to enjoy this wonderful day and the person that we are all here to celebrate, Mr. Victor R. Garza. As you all know, Mr. Garza's birthday is coming up. It's right around the corner. It's next week, Tuesday, on the 4th of July, which should be no surprise, right? Because it's a person that's constantly fighting for everyone's independence and equal rights. So I wanted to ask everybody could please join in as a collective, if we could all sing happy birthday to Mr. Victor, please. And we do have cupcakes in the back. So on the count of 3, if we could all sing together, please. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Victor. Happy birthday to you.
Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David. Hoy por ser día de tu santo, te las cantamos a ti. Despierta, mi bien, despierta. Mira que ya amaneció. Ya los pajarillos cantan, la luna ya se metió.
Yes.
Okay.
Hecho.
¿Le dijiste
¿Dónde está el doctor?
Le dijiste 5 meses,
Yes,
¿verdad?
yes.
Good.
Ya está.
Good. Algo, Victor, algo. Alguien. Victor. No. Muchas gracias. I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you so much for all your support. As you all know, no one alone can do anything by themselves. It takes a team effort, and all of you have been part of that team effort. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be where we are today. Thank you. Comadre.
A card from our family.
Oh, thank you, comadre. Thank you.
I don't know if you remember me.
Yes, I do.
My Lydia's daughter.
Yes. You're here.
Thank you for always supporting us and supporting me too. Without you, we would have been